All right. Make sure my mic is unmuted. I should probably hop out of that too. All right. What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, as always, Matt. Welcome back to the Open Matt Show. A pretty good pretty good stream for you guys. Got a fair amount of things I want to talk about in this order. First, we're going to do a quick recap of the main event of last weekend's fight night. Mateusz Gamrot versus Quillan Salkilld. Also, I do want to do a quick little tier list and recap of Dana White's Contender Series. That's back this year. Started last Tuesday, yesterday. And pretty much something that I want to start is doing a tier list of all the winners. And once the season is over, we'll go back and take a look at it and maybe re-rank them depending on what I think of who will get the furthest. So we'll be going over that a little bit. And of course, after that, we'll be going over, the thumbnail, everything that everyone's here for. My picks for UFC 330 is Makhachev versus Ian Gary. Now, I know a lot of people are shitting on the card. And, I'll admit it's not exactly a name value heavy card, but once you kind of look at the matchups, there should be some entertaining fights on there. A few layups, in my opinion, but that should result in some good scenes, good clips, good finishes. But anyways, enough yapping. Let's get right into it. Like I said, I just want to go over the main event really quick of Gamrot versus Salkilld. I think I got every single pick on this main card correct, but literally like 90% of these, even you could say 100% if you really take a look at the Salkilld Gamrot fight. A lot of these were layup matches. So I don't really take too much pride in how I picked these. It was kind of obvious. Anyways, let's talk about Gamrot Salkilld. As you all know, Salkilld rocked Gamrot with a hook early in the fight, and it was pretty much over from there. He did well in the grappling, although there was a point where Gamrot seemingly almost caught him in a submission. I wish I knew the technical name of it, but I don't. And Salkilld looked great. He looked very, very good. Definitely kind of proven himself, I would say, and backing up what everyone's saying that he's probably the future of 155 to a degree. I will say I got a little bit of heat on this when I said it on Twitter. Follow me over there, OpenMatShowLIVE. I do think Salkilld is going to struggle against just better strikers altogether, such as like a Holloway, hell, even like an Oliveira. If he keeps it pure stand up. I was talking with somebody on Twitter over there. I do think based on his well-rounded skill set, he could easily kind of get past a Max Holloway by following the Oliveira game plan, actually, specifically. But point blank, he looked very, very good. And I want to see him fight top 5. I know he called out BSD. I'm not a fan of that matchup, honestly. I just want to see Salkilld get up in the top 5, fighting Oliveira, a Holloway. Probably not a Patty would be fun, but I think we should say Patty for Ilya. Maybe give him Armin or something. Even though Armin's fighting Rufy. I said it in my last stream too. I just want to see Salkilld fight somebody that makes me think he may actually lose, because the odds showed it. I said it. I knew Salkilld was going to beat Gamrot. Gamrot always kind of fails in these main event situations, in these ranked opponent situations. Had this happen like a few months ago or a year ago when Salkilld was unranked, Gamrot probably would have whooped his ass. But, that's how things go. Like I said, he looked good. I do think he should take some time off. He's been very, very active. And I think I don't know if it's confirmed, but there's some rumor that he popped his knee. And I did see he walked out of the arena with a knee brace. So definitely take the time off. Like I said, he's been very active. And yeah, I mean, I guess a BSD call out isn't terrible. I just want to see him fight better competition. I think he hurts BSD pretty bad relatively early on, honestly. I mean, if Poirier could, I imagine Salkilld could as well, because Salkilld has very good power, similar to Poirier, in my opinion, from what we've seen. Not drop dead power, but if he lands a good clean shot on you, it'll probably put you out. And we've seen BSD susceptible to that. As for Gamrot, I mean, again, Gamrot kind of fucked it up. Like I said, he really kind of ran into that hook, but he looked game before that. Like a few seconds before that, he didn't look bad. I just think, he's on the way out. He'll probably beat like 1 or 2 more unranked guys in the future, but he's definitely going to be unranked within this time next year. Gamrot will most likely be unranked. It's unfortunate to say. I've always been a fan of Gamrot. I feel like a lot of people kind of shit on him for no reason. I don't really get it. But yeah, we're definitely seeing the tail end of his career. And I imagine they're going to keep feeding him to people like this, up and comers. So I'm not sure what's next for Gamrot. Really, obviously, he's going to need to take some time off after getting finished like that. Um, and really, I think the biggest thing holding him back is his chin. It's not really what it used to be. He never recovered from that clean check hook Salkilld throughout. And yeah, it's kind of sad to see. Honestly, like I said, I don't know why I just like Gamrot, but yeah, it kind of is what it is there. So hopefully we get to see Salkilld fight somebody in the top 5, but most likely based on Arman and Rufi being signed, Patty probably waiting for Ilya, Gaethje just doing whatever the fuck he's doing. Um, we might see him fight Holloway. I would much rather see him fight Holloway, but Holloway might even be holding out to fight Conor McGregor as well, which I really hope he isn't. I really, really hope he isn't. Um, because the top 5 right now, top 7 in the 155 division is just looks so fucking beautiful on paper. It would be a shame if we get Holloway, Gaethje, um, Patty, Ilya not on the books for at least like a year's time. That would be awful for that division. But it could create great opportunity for a guy like Salkilld if he does continue to stay relatively active, at least compared to the other guys. He could really kind of seize the moment and really cement himself as the face of that division, or at least popular guy. He has the comedy for it, the humor for it. Uh, no homo, the looks for it. He could definitely succeed very well in that. Like I said, I don't really have much more to add on to this card. Jelly Roll won, so good for him. Uh, Louis Sutherland lost, which I kind of figured he was. But yeah. I mean, the card wasn't terrible. The card wasn't terrible. But let me know what you guys thought about that. Like I said, a lot of those fights were very easy to pick, so no real surprises there. I think we all knew that Salkilld was going to win that, but just let me know what you thought. And before we get on to my picks for UFC 330, I wanted to upload this video yesterday, but it was like midnight when I would have uploaded it, so I just said, "Fuck it, I'll stream it." So I want to do a quick tier list of the winners of Dana White's Contender Series yesterday. Overall, in my opinion, it was kind of a stinker of a Contender Series, a weak start to the season, I guess. Um, so yeah, this is gonna be something I'll be doing every week. I don't know if I'll do it on stream, which we'll get to that, because there are gonna be some changes on what time I'm streaming. Um, but every week I'm gonna at least upload a video updating this tier list, and we'll kind of be going forward with that and adding more and more to it. So we'll start with one. Shit, dude, I don't even remember his name. Joe Kopchek. Uh, he was fighting Mulliman, the diabetic guy. He was fighting the diabetic guy, and based on the odds, Kopchek was not supposed to win this fight at all. It was a layup for the diabetic guy, and I'm always a fan of just the underdog coming in and kind of ruining the plans of the UFC or whatever. But he low key whooped the diabetic guy's ass, and as we all know, I'm sure a lot of you saw the clip, at least on Twitter. If you didn't watch Contender Series live, he had a nasty armbar in, and it looked like he broke the diabetic guy's arm. Diabeto, I think it's Mullenman. Um, it looked like he broke it. He didn't. I thought he did, but he did not. So he is a middleweight, and like I said, he kind of rose to the occasion. He did a good job. He uses length and reach well, but at 185, I don't rank him that highly. He was getting hit a little too often by a guy that was he was significantly bigger than, and Mullenman, he didn't really have like good skill. He was just kind of fucking winging it, which I would have ranked Mullenman a D level, because being that small for 185, you have to know how to close the distance on these big guys, and clearly he was struggling with that. Had Kopchek been a little bit better with his counters and properly utilized his reach advantage and his size advantage, he could have easily knocked Mulliman out. But he was getting caught himself. He was getting hit by like sloppy overhand rights. Um, I think as you kind of get higher up in the 185 division or even just the ranks, that shit ain't gonna fly. Especially guys that are like his size or you know. So because of that, I don't know. I like that he rose to the occasion a little bit, but like I said, he just didn't really look that good, honestly, to me. I kind of feel that way about a lot of these guys. So I'm gonna rank him D. Again, I might change these in the future once we get more, contenders to kind of compare them to. But I know it's really hard to see too. But for now, Kopchek is gonna get D rank. I just don't see him going that far in the UFC at all, ever touching the top 15. Um, you know, he was put in there to lose, and his skill level definitely looked like that. It's just that the diabetic guy, Mulliman, was a lot fucking worse than he was. Like, I don't get how you could be that small at 185 and not know how to close the distance, against a tall guy like that. A and even then, that guy was having success against Kopchek, so that's why I kinda rank him D level. I imagine if he goes against somebody bigger that's a lot more technical, he will absolutely crumble, but who knows? It was just a Contender Series fight, so he might get a lot better, but yeah. So next one, we got, what is it? Tom versus Malumba. Uh, so this is Malumba's second time out on Contender Series. Was fighting Freaky Rahiki, and straight up, Malumba is a power merchant. He's got some power here and there. He lands a good shot every now and then, but if you get outlasted him past like the first round, he's pretty much cooked, and you'll be able to whoop his ass pretty easy. And that's what Tom did. Um, Tom looked like he was maybe going to get caught really bad, like at least early on in the first round. That's what I thought. But Malumba started to gas. He started to take over. And yeah, I kind of feel similar about Tom as I do the cop check fight. Just I feel a little bit better about him just because I respect Malumba a lot more than Mulliman. But kind of after that, Malumba's pretty ass. Like I said, he's just a power merchant. He really banks on landing that one shot. And sometimes he does land it, and if it doesn't work out, he just gasses out. He's kind of all muscle. Uh, so I don't know where I would rate Tom. Like I said, actually, I kind of fucked with him. I think he has good potential. It's just the way he kind of gutted it out, and really he knew what time it was, when to kind of put it on him. Uh, Looked for the finish at the end. He could have played it safe, but he really put it on him. And again, this tier list is kind of based off of their performances, not really. It kind of based on everything, not necessarily like S tier doesn't mean they're going to be a future champion or anything like that. It's just kind of relative to their fellow contenders and just how we looked on Contender Series. So, like I said, it feels like Tom might have been put in there to lose. It feels like they were trying to push Malumba a little bit, but I just respect the fact that he refused to let that happen, and he knew what time it was. He knew he needed the finish. He was very self aware, and I think that self awareness on Contender Series puts. I think it just speaks well. It speaks well because if you're aware enough to know to go for the finish during Contender Series when you necessarily don't have to, I think it bodes well for you in your actual career during clutch moments, pressure moments, things like that. So I just think he's a little bit better than Kopchek. So I'm gonna rank him C. I should have probably put an F tier. I'd put Kopchek at like F tier. Um, Although there's somebody else that'd be a better F tier, but we'll get to that. So I'm gonna put Tom Peligilio, whatever the fuck. I'm gonna put him at C tier. So the next fight we had, easily the best fight of the card, Bilal Hassan versus Saikia. Uh, Now, I'm gonna skirt the line here. I don't want to be racist or anything, but Bilal Hassan is obviously very good, but it should be a fucking crime that they signed him to Saikia, an Indian fellow. Uh, it was an awful night for Indian MMA. No shocker there necessarily. To this day, Indian MMA's best representative is Pooja Tumar, which I don't even think she's in the UFC anymore. I think she got put down to Road to UFC. And no shade to Pooja Tumar, but she ain't exactly all that. Uh, she did go to war with Shauna Bannon, which is kind of funny. But yeah, I mean, I didn't need to watch game film on these guys to understand why the odds are what they are, but I did watch some film on Hassan anyways, and he looks legit, man. He looks legit. He has a kind of power at flyweight that I would say is unheard of, but kind of recently we've been seeing a little bit more of that. A little bit more guys with power at flyweight since the Figgy era. But he's a very dynamic guy in terms of his striking, very athletic, flippy, as I like to say. I'll admit he's been fighting a lot of cans, and this fight was no different. Let's be real, but he definitely looked the part. He looked very, very good, and it's very clear he is well beyond the level of fighting these bums on Contender Series, and he could definitely probably hang with a lot of guys at flyweight. I saw a lot of people saying they want to give him a ranked opponent already. I don't know about that. Feed him somebody and then a ranked opponent. But if they're insistent on giving him a ranked guy, I would imagine, honestly, like a Steve Urseg or something like that might make a lot of sense. That would be a good way to test him because Urseg is a decent striker, but doesn't really have a chin, and it'll really, like I said, test if Bilal Hassan can land those powerful shots on a much better fighter than Saikia. Again, you don't. All you had to do is look at both of the guys, and you knew who was going to win and how. Uh, it was no shocker that he just won by one punch in the first round, very early in the first round. But he looked very good. I feel like, it was the embodiment of Contender Series. He won via nasty finish, even though it was a layup. And if I were the one giving out the contracts, he would have been like one of the only two that would have got a contract. It's a little shocker to me that all four of them got one. Um, but I'm not Dana White. I'm not running a billion-dollar company. So, uh, Bilal Hassan, he gets a S tier. Like I said, he just looked very, very good, very flashy, very powerful. I didn't even think he was a flyweight when I first saw it. I kind of thought it was a 135er. I don't know. I don't know his dimensions. I don't know how big he is for the weight class, but he looked kind of big and definitely a proper prospect, somebody to look out for in the future. Um, as 125 is exciting. There's going to be a lot of exciting fights in the future, clearly. So I'm excited to kind of see where that goes. So next one we'll go over, uh, it was Escarrega versus, uh, Abgasir. Abgasir, man, I am blanking on their names. Um, I gotta say, just a funny note, it will never fail to make me laugh when the commentary team, like, really tries their hardest to pronounce a name correctly, and we were seeing that, here. Every time they went to go say, his name, they would pause, like Lorisenko, she'd pause, "It looks like Escarrega landed a good shot," or, like, something like that. Every single one, they would, like, pause right before, and obviously, I get it. They wanna say it correctly. Respect to them for that. But it was just funny. Like, it just makes me giggle every time they do that. It's like they do a double take on the paper. That'll just never not be funny to me. Um, Anyways, I agree. It was kind of a robbery. I think Sal D'Amato had a 30-27. I wouldn't say like that. It didn't seem like that. It seemed a lot more back and forth, but I don't really score Contender Series fights. I just kinda watch them and go off of vibes. Watching it live, I had fun watching it. I didn't think it was that bad. Um, Albeit I was in the middle of eating and, like, doing other things, so I wasn't fully locked in. Um, so maybe 30-27 was correct, but I think we can all agree, what is Abgassan, he did not win that shit. He did not. It was no shocker that he wasn't gonna get the contract. It ended off pretty bad, honestly. Um, that last round sucked, and, Dana White let him know. I honestly felt very bad for Dana White, or for Abgassan, Gassan, whatever the fuck. I felt very bad for him. He looked fucking heartbroken, and I even tweeted out, "Somebody better be with him all night because it looks like he's about to blow his fucking brains out." I mean, I get it. That is heart crushing. The boss of, like, everything for your career, literally the boss of your career, um, just shit on you, said you don't deserve to win that fight, and you had a lot of stuff to work on. Didn't even hit him with the "We'll see you back one day" or nothing like that. He's getting blacklisted from UFC and all their regional promotions, from this day. Who knows? Who knows? He might make a comeback in the future, but it's not gonna be next season. That's for sure. He's gonna have to make some big waves to get back to that point. So, you know, if I should have added a F tier. If I could add a F tier, I would put him there. I might add a F tier for the next one, but Imma put him at D for now. It was just a stinker of a performance, man, and, he didn't even win, in my opinion. He didn't even win, and, yeah, it was nice, though, that, due to his "win," quote, unquote, we got a classic Dana White shitting on the career of a upcoming guy. That was always cool to see, but Imma have to give him D tier. Last one, we got Trevor Wentz versus Matt, whatever. Man, I'm blanking on their names. Dude, you just had to look at these guys. You knew Trevor Wentz was gonna fucking win, bro. Um, it was just obvious he was gonna win. He was physically so much bigger. I knew that this wasn't gonna be a contest of skill in any kind of way. Trevor Wentz was just gonna go out there and bully Matt, and that's exactly what we saw. So it wasn't a bad performance, but I feel like we didn't really see anything from him at all. It was just so, like, lacking. It was so fast that you couldn't really gauge anything. So, obviously, he's a physical threat in general. He looked a little small for heavyweight, in my opinion, in terms of frame. So I feel like he might struggle a little bit there. But I'm gonna give him B tier. I'm gonna give him a B tier. It was a great performance, good finish, but we really didn't get anything out of it other than he's a freak athlete. Cup of coffee with the New York Jets as a linebacker, kind of going the Hokett route. And right, shout out to Josh Hokett for kind of showing a lot of these, NFL rejects, these D1 athletes that are bigger, but can't get into the NBA, can't get into the NFL or MLB. Come to the UFC. Come to the UFC. Don't. There's a lot of fat slobs in the UFC, especially in the heavyweight division. So a lot of these leaner heavyweight guys could definitely go in there and kick some ass. Absolutely. Uh, but yeah, I'm gonna give him a B tier. Like I said, I just feel like we haven't really seen enough from him. And yeah, we didn't really have too much to go over here. If it were up to me, the two people that I would be giving a contract would be Trevor Wentz and Bilal Hassan. Everyone else would not get a contract. I would let Kopchek come back. I would let Tom come back. Uh, maybe Escaraga, let him come back next season. But everyone else, or otherwise, I don't know, man. Uh, yeah, everyone else I wouldn't bring back, honestly. The diabetic guy, I ain't bringing him back. He didn't look that good. Um, Malumba, I mean, maybe bring Malumba back, but he already had 2 cracks at it. So who knows? Uh, but yeah, that's my tier list. Tier list, what the hell? That's my tier list. Let me know what you guys think of it. Uh, I just wanted to go over that really quick. Like I said, I'll be adding to it every week. I'll probably be uploading the videos Tuesday night or Wednesday morning, most likely. Um, but yeah, let me know what you think of that. Do you watch Contender Series? Do you not? Let me know. But time to get into the meaty stuff, the thing you are all here for. My picks for the main card of UFC 330, UFC Philly, is on Makhachev versus Ian Machado Gary. So I've been very, very vocal about it on who I think is gonna win for like the last few weeks. I'm not hiding it one bit. I'm a fan of Ian Gary. I like Ian Gary. Now, I'll admit this was like when I became a fan of Ian Gary, when I hopped on the Ian Gary bandwagon, that was before all the cuck stuff. That was before, which not like that really would have changed my opinion too much. Because you know, Uh, he's a good fighter, and I recognize that regardless of his out of the cage or bedroom antics. Um, but I became a fan of him when he was like the Conor McGregor copycat guy, when that was like the worst thing you could say about him. And I thought it was like endearing a little bit. He was trying. Um, he was on the come up, so he was doing whatever he could. He was putting a lot of respect on those before him. So I appreciated that, and I do think he's very very skilled. Um, like I said, obviously a lot of stuff has I guess come to light. Is that what you'd say? The WAG book from his wife Layla, uh, the ex-husband being the nutritionist. I don't know if Machado is actually his last name or if that's just like Layla's maiden name. I don't know if that was rumor or not. The recent interviews of him, oh, woman run the world, him being a vegan and doing the thing with PETA. That for me, that's like the most criminal thing. Uh, and things like that. Like I said, I don't think that really takes away too much from his actual performances. I do think he's still very good, but I understand if people don't like him, specifically the MMA fan base. Once I saw he did that interview talking about how women should run the world, I knew he was gonna get shit on really bad. I mean, like we know who the majority of MMA fans are. Uh, so yeah, it was no shocker that people were shitting on him. But anyways, let's get into my picks. For the first fight on the main card, oh my goodness, my thing is lagging really bad. For the first fight on the main card, what is going on? Jesus Christ. Okay. We got Edson Barboza versus Esteban Ribovics. Pretty good fight. Both the guys coming off of a loss. And this is what I was saying. Like, although this card doesn't have heavy name value, a lot of name recognition, I think a lot of these fights are pretty solid. They're at least on paper, their matchups are set to end via finishes or just be fun striking battles. And I think this is one of them. So, like I said, both of these guys are coming off of a loss. Ribovic's losing to Gamrot, and Barboza. I think he got knocked out by Jalen Turner. Yeah, he got knocked out by Jalen Turner, who was also on this card. Uh, so obviously, I'm leaning Ribovics. He's a younger guy, the fresher guy. Barboza has a much better reach, but really kind of comes down to Barboza's getting a little bit older. And as we kind of saw in the Jalen Turner fight, I really worry for Barboza's chin. Now, again, we saw it in the Turner fight. Barboza is willing to kind of stand in the pocket and trade, and he'll have success. But I think if it really comes down to it, um, Barboza's going to get wobbled from a shot from Ribovics. Ribovics will most likely be able to eat a Barboza shot and stay in the pocket. Um, so, I feel like unless Barboza can kind of, you know, pull a Gamrot out of his ass and start wrestle fucking Ribovics, I don't really see a world where, Barboza's going to win unless, he turns back the clock. There's nasty body kicks and high kicks and all that. I don't really see him doing that. Ribovics is pretty clean with the hands in terms of like his boxing. So I think I think that'll just kinda catch, Barboza with something. Barboza, he's a good enough, crafty enough fighter to definitely give Ribovics problems and keep himself safe, but I think once you kinda get past that first round, I don't think Barboza's body will be able to keep up, and that same collision, same pocket clash that they did in round 1 will result in a finish in round 2, to Barboza. But I think regardless, it should be a fun striking fight. I just I just do think that Ribovics is gonna kinda get that finish. He looked good on the feet against Gamrot, he did, and Gamrot had to wrestle fuck him to pull the W out. It's not like he was completely outclassed by a Gamrot. So, like I said, um, Barboza, he's crafty enough, slick enough to kinda keep himself safe in that first round, but I really feel like a clean connection from Ribovics could put him down. If it's later on past the first round, it'll absolutely put him out. Maybe not cold, but it'll result in a TKO, if you ask me. Um, so yeah, I got Ribovics. I'm gonna pick him by TKO in the second round, kind of copying that Jalen Turner matchup that Barboza had. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Ribovics here. I just don't really see a way for Barboza to win unless he kind of turns back that clock. So next fight we got Mansour Abdul Malik versus Dustin Stoltzfus. This fight's kind of funny. I'm not gonna lie. This fight's kind of funny. Uh, Mansoor is gonna win. It's definitely a bounce back fight for him. He got his hype fucking stolen, snatched from him by Belguri. Uh, and I picked wrong on that. I thought Abdul Malik was gonna beat Belguri. I think prior to that, Belguri fought like in 2024 prior to that fight, but he beat the shit out of Mansour Abdul Malik. Like it was bad. It was such a bad beating. They should have like thrown in the towel his corner. But he's back. Uh, I do think that beating that he took from Belguri, like it was really a life changing beating. I do think that's going to change his fighting style a little bit. But if Dustin Stoltzfus isn't like the epitome of a bounce back layup fight for Mansour Abdul Malik, I don't know what is, man. I think actually it's going to be similar to that Contender Series fight with Trevor Wentz in it. I think he's just going to kind of come in there and physically just kind of outman Dustin Stoltzfus if it really comes down to it. Fuck the technique, fuck everything, whether it be like a grappling or a striking. I think he's going to kind of go out there and just bulldoze through Dustin. Now, it's possible on the skill side, Dustin might be able to keep up with Mansour Abdul Malik, but he's not gonna be able to knock him out or like get him out of there or anything. Abdul Malik, even though he got his ass whooped bad, he was still game and trying to win until he took a nasty knee to the head against Belguri. And Stoltzfus isn't pushing Abdul Malik like that. He doesn't have the stature for it. He doesn't have the power for it. He doesn't have the skill for it the way Belguri showed. Um, so I think this is a proper bounce back for Mansour Abdul Malik. So I'll pick Abdul Malik via finish. I don't want to say in the first round. I'm gonna say second just to be safe, but it's probably gonna be the first round. Honestly, it probably will be. Um, but yeah, Abdul Malik is definitely gonna win. If he loses to Stoltzfus, uh, then Belguri took his soul. It's absolutely confirmed. Um, I mean, that's really kind of the only like question I have here is how is he gonna look, Abdul Malik after his last fight? Because I think any version of him should be the Stoltzfus, but Bulgari really beat the shit out of him, so I don't know. It might change him. It might have changed him. We don't know. But I think he should, even if he's a fraction of what he was, he should be able to beat an aging out Stoltzfus, honestly. So I got Abdul Malik there. Like I said, I'm gonna go finish, maybe end of the first, but I'm gonna go with second because I feel like he'll come out a lot more um, reserved than usual. The next one we got Jalen Turner, the Spider, versus I don't know, Cow Fernandez. Um, so Jalen Turner, he was retired for a little bit, but his most recent fight, I think he finished Barboza, if I remember correctly. And Dustin, why am I reading Dustin Stoltzfus? And Kyle Fernandez, his last fight, the thing that kind of put him on my radar was when he beat Harry Hardwick via leg kick. Le- Via leg kick. That went pretty viral when that happened. Um, a lot of people don't like Harry Hardwick, and yeah, I feel like this is kind of a I agree with the odds here. In terms of, like, skill, I feel like Fernandez is kind of, we don't really know where he's at. Like, yes, he had an impressive win against Harry Hardwick, but, hindsight's 2020. We can't put too much weight in that. Harry Hardwick is kind of ass. Um, so, Fernandez kinda did what he had to do, a completely unintentional TKO there via the leg kicks, in my opinion. He wasn't leg kicking expecting Hardwick to get finished, but, you know, that's what happened. Uh, Whereas Jalen Turner, I think this is Turner's fight to lose. The way Fernandez fights, so his style, the way his stance was against Harry Hardwick, I think against a much larger opponent, even against Harry Hardwick, against a much larger opponent like Jalen Turner, uh, Turner could easily take advantage of a lot of those openings Fernandez left when he rushed in for jabs or strikes, even the leg kicks. Fernandez had his hands pretty low, and I honestly feel like Michael Chandler soccer kick esque against Fernandez would really do Jalen Turner very well. But it really depends on what kind of Jalen Turner shows up. We know Jalen Turner can be very, hit or miss. Sometimes he fights like ass, but other times he has, like, really shown, when he puts it all together, he's very dangerous. We've seen him put the beats on some good fighters, Bobby Green, King Green being one of them, Moicano being one of them. I mean, he had the finish in the bag there, but tried to get the walk off. We know Jalen Turner can absolutely perform at a very high level. We at least on the feet, we know that. Fernandez, like I said, I don't think we've really seen that from him. Yes, he did beat Harry Hardwick, but, like I said, hindsight's 2020, it doesn't really mean anything. Um, and yeah, just the way his style is, the way he kept his arm, like, really outreached, uh, from his face, the way the hand that was close to him was still pretty low. Um, I think that's kinda serving his chin on a silver platter for such a bigger guy in Jalen Turner. Not only is his reach so much bigger, but he's so much taller as well. I mean, that's gonna really fuck over Fernandez here. I just feel like it's Jalen Turner's fight to lose, which we know he very well might fuck it up. He does that. It happens. Uh, and he might do it here, but I just don't think we've seen enough from Fernandez uh, to really say he could be a turned on, you know, a skillful, a proper Jalen Turner that shows up. Like I said, I don't rank the Harry Hardwick victory that high at all. And as time goes on, it kind of ages like shit. Uh, so yeah, I got Jalen Turner here via finish. I don't know. Like I said, we got to see how tough Fernandez is, but I think this is a really good opportunity for Jalen Turner to, kind of get his full confidence back. And I think beating Barbosa was kind of whatever, but he really has the opportunity to, kind of put himself back in the, I mean, maybe not title contention, but back into the, limelight, is that the right word? Because this fight is it's a 3rd one down on the main card. It's not a bad position, and again, just when you look at the physical stats, Jalen Turner should be able to kinda get a victory here. Like I said, I think it's his fight to lose. I don't think we've seen enough from Fernandez. Um, but, I wouldn't be surprised if, Jalen Turner just bottles it and Fernandez comes out with the victory, but I gotta go with Jalen Turner here. I'll always go for the Spider, man, I really like him. Um, but yeah. So we're on to the co-main event already, Mackenzie Dern versus Jillian Robertson. Uh, I don't have too much to say about this one, honestly. It is. What's the guy say? Yusuf Ahmed, not Islam, but Ara fucked. ARA. Who's ARA? I don't know who ARA is. Um, anyways, uh, Mackenzie Dern versus Jillian Robertson. This is a, this is a it's honestly not a bad matchup. Let's be real. It makes sense. The matchup makes sense. Uh, Now, I do think Mackenzie Dern is better in the striking and grappling than Jillian Robertson. And normally this means nothing, but I actually think Jillian Robertson is a lot more aggressive, and that could give Mackenzie Dern, a lot of problems. I'm not going to spend too much time on it because I do think Dern is just better. But if Jillian Robertson can go out there aggressive early and just kind of put the hands on Mackenzie Dern early on, we've seen Mackenzie Dern kind of crumble under forward pressure fighter when they're just kind of landing shots on her. Not Islam, but you are. I might be fucked in my pick. And I acknowledge that. I acknowledge that. I know that. I know it's an uphill battle for Ian Gary, and we'll get to that. But and I'm memeing a little bit in the thumbnail there. Uh, but I do think Ian Gary does have some real tools to actually win this fight, more so than like a lot of other people in the past have. Um, Anyways, yeah, I mean, I'm gonna lean Dern. I imagine she's gonna say calm, cool, and collected, and Dern is seemingly getting better with every fight. After each loss, she comes back a lot better. Um, and she's just fought a lot better competition as well. Like I said, Jillian Robertson, she's a lot more aggressive, but unless she kind of really disrupts Dern's rhythm early on, gets in her head really early on by like hurting her or just rushing her early on, I imagine Dern is going to be able to kind of come out with the victory here. But all of these fights are inconsequential until Zhang Wei Li comes back. So it is what it is. I got Mackenzie Dern there. All right, on to the main event. On to the main event. What you all are here to see. Islam Makhachev versus Ian Machado Gary. Both of them having very impressive records, everything like that. Oh, I wish I had the photo of their face off pulled up. I don't though. That was a mistake by me. So, I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'll cut to the chase. I got Ian. I do think Ian can pull it off. I think he will pull it off. Um, Obviously, it's a tough call. All respect to Islam. Islam is easily one of, if not the best fighter of the current generation of the modern era. Um, but the truth is, Ian offers intangibles that Islam just simply hasn't faced in the octagon before. I'm sure Islam has trained with bigger guys. There's no doubt about that. Um, but he's never fought one, especially one with the skill set that Ian Gary has. Um, so, like I said, obviously the size and length of Ian is a big one, and I know a lot of people are pointing to that face-off that they recently did at the Rocky Steps and how Ian was only a few inches taller. Well, people really underestimate what inches look like in real life when you look at like a tall dude next to, unless it's like drastic. It's usually not that bad. And two, it is worth noting Ian was wearing like barefoot shoes, like soleless shoes, whereas I'm not gonna say Islam was wearing height boosters, but a pair of shoes that added an inch probably. Ian looked a little slouched as well. I wonder if that was like a mental tactic. I wouldn't put it past him. He's been open that he likes to do these mental tactics like that, these unique ones, which I'm a fan of. I'm a fan of. I know a lot of people don't like that he does that, but I like that. Um, I think once they get in the cage, though, Ian will actually look a lot bigger, at least in height and in length, um, which is ultimately what matters here. We can't really put too much in how they look with the different shoes and things like that. And like I said, I think Ian was kind of slouching on purpose. In the cage, he will look a lot bigger. Obviously, something else I think Ian has in his corner is the striking. I don't think Islam's an awful striker in any sense. He's a very good and efficient striker, but we've seen him kind of get worked by uh, strategic and skillful strikers. That being in the Volk 1 fight. Well, I know how the second fight turned out, but short notice. And the big one, the Dustin Poirier fight, he was getting worked in that fight. Poirier was kind of boxing him up a little bit, and he pushed Islam very far. Uh, that being said, Ian is a very skillful and strategic striker. He is more so, in my opinion, more so than Volk, more so than Poirier. Poirier is more of a boxer. I would say Volk kind of leans more to the kind of striking Ian does, like kind of coming in and out. But Ian distance manages very well, and he uses his length and reach tremendously. A lot of fighters I feel like don't properly use their length and reach, because it would result in a boring fight. But Ian doesn't really care about that. He kind of keeps his distance, teeps, pokes, obliques, which I think that'll be a huge weapon for him this fight. Um, he really utilizes his range, his length, and distance management very well against guys that are his frame, that are his size, that are bigger than him. I imagine he's going to absolutely utilize that and leverage that against a guy that's a little bit smaller than him. So I think that might give Islam a fair amount of issues. Although, like I said, I don't think it's as black and white. Like Ian Gary needs to keep it on the feet. Islam can absolutely give him problems on the feet. Like I said, although it doesn't look the prettiest, Islam is a very efficient striker. He lands shots, and when he does, they're effective, as we've seen in a lot of his other fights. Uh, Something else that I think maybe not in fully in Gary's favor, but something a lot of people are like really underestimating is his fight IQ. He's a very intelligent fighter. He is. I know a lot of people don't wanna give him too much credit. I get it. You guys don't like him. But, time and time again, him and his camp have proven that they're smart. They put in good game plans. I know a lot of his fights are boring, but that's because he does such a good job of nullifying the opponent's game plan, no matter what it is. I think the best examples of that are Carlos Prates and Bilal Muhammad. Now, you might laugh at the Bilal Muhammad part, but he did a very good job shutting down those takedowns and punishing Bilal every time he went in. I think the more impressive one is the Carlos Prates fight. He absolutely shut down a lethal striker in Carlos Prates. And I'm sorry, I'm really tired of the narrative that, "Oh, if Prates knew he was Carlos Prates, he would have knocked out Ian Gary." That's so fucking stupid. Like, I'm sorry, that's he tried to knock out Ian Gary, and he damn near succeeded. Like, what, you think he just, "Oh, I'm Carl," like, dude, this ain't a fucking anime, bro. Ian Gary shut him down. There are real consequences to throwing wild shots, blind shots when they don't land, and Gary was punishing Prates for that. And Prates realized that too. That's why the fight went where it went. And I know a lot of people love to point was the fourth round, that fourth round where Ian Gary was injured, or not injured, where he got hurt and was crawling on the ground. Look, oh, you look like a bitch. Oh, Prates could have finished him there. To me, that's impressive. That speaks to his maturity in the octagon and his fight IQ. Even when the house was on fire, so to speak, when he was hurt, when he really could have given up, his brain was rocking in his head. He didn't give a fuck about how he looked. He didn't give a fuck about his ego. He made the objectively correct choice in that moment to keep himself alive. Yes, it may have looked bad, but fuck the optics. He knew he had the fight in the bag. He just had to get out of that round. And that's exactly what he did. Again, I get it. It didn't look the best, but I think the fact that he was able to make that decision in the moment, that was very, very impressive. Um, on my part, that's what I got out of it. Yeah, Prates had a great moment there, and he stole that round by hurting Gary that bad. But seriously, Gary, like he really showed to me that he can handle it when the going gets tough because it doesn't get. We've seen many lesser fighters fail in those moments, and I think if they were to rematch, it would be the exact same thing. I really do believe that Ian Gary would just shut him down, maybe even use grappling a little bit more. He just does a very good job keeping himself safe, and we really saw that in the Shavkat fight as well. Um, he showed himself very well against Shavkat. I know he lost, uh, but Shavkat was the boogeyman, and I think he stepped in on relative short notice. I'm gonna say 3 weeks. It might have been 2 weeks. And even then, he took Shavkat to death. He fucking ruined Shavkat's career. And I'm gonna go on a little ramble real quick. One of my most like unpopular opinions is I think Ian Gary won that fight. I mean, maybe we couldn't tell in the moment, and Shavkat deserved the decision, sure, but Ian Gary won that fight. Um, he fucked up Shavkat's knees bad with those oblique kicks, and a lot of people are like, he was already injured before. He was able to fight before. Yeah, Shavkat had bad knees before, but he was able to fight before, make weight and fight before. It just so happens after Ian Gary stomped the hell out of his knee, he's never fought again. I don't think that's a coincidence. Oh, he re-injured it in the fight. Huh, I wonder how. Maybe because he was getting his fucking knees stomped out. Uh, I think I think a lot of people really underestimated Ian Gary in that fight. And when you really look back and see how bad Ian Gary damaged Shavkat's knees, if you had to rescore it based off of that knowledge that Ian Gary just destroyed his knee, he won off of damage because it was already a close fight as is. Um, but that's a moot point. I kind of digress on that. Uh, but yeah. Another thing by Ian Gary too is that I feel like he really learns from his previous performances very well. When he came back from that Shavkat fight, he looked very good. I know a lot of people don't like his backpedal style, but it serves him very well. Again, his team is very good at game planning, and he's very good at making the adaptations during fights. Um, to keep himself safe, to win. Like, it might be boring point fighting, but he's keeping himself safe. And this early on in his career, it is important he's not getting hurt all the time the way, Protes hurt him. And hell, even in that Shavkat fight, he almost fucking choked Shavkat out. Very, very impressive there. Uh, and again, he needs to really utilize his length, his reach, everything like that. And I know Islam's clown on, oh, he's going to be running and all that. Yes, he is, and that's exactly what he needs to be doing. He cannot be moving forward on Islam, swinging, kicking, because Islam will grab him. Islam will take a shot and grab him to pull him down. Absolutely, he does need to stay on the back foot, circling out, not allowing himself to get cornered on the cage and just poking and prodding. Maybe sitting down on a shot here and there when you see the opportunity to. Just don't allow Islam to bully you, to corner you, make him chase you, make him exert more and more energy. Really test Islam's 170 cardio gas tank, because as we've seen in Hamzat, uh, Hamzat when he fought DDP didn't make him work for it at all. Hamzat looked fine. The second Hamzat was forced to work for it against Sean Strickland, we saw Hamzat fail. Now, obviously, Islam, he's never really had gas tank issues in general, so I doubt that'll start now. But I feel like we haven't really seen him actually. We haven't seen that get tested at 170 because JDM was a fucking punchy bag for him. Just a pathetic performance from JDM. What is someone calling? Anyways, sorry, that's weak. Yeah, that being said, though, I understand it's an uphill battle for Ian Gary. Like I said, I'm not stupid. I know Islam Makhachev is arguably the GOAT right now, of the modern era, even, unless you consider John Jones a part of that. Even then, though, Islam's like proven it across weight classes, right? And I do think that this Ian Gary fight, win or lose, is going to age very, very well for Islam. I do rate Ian Gary that highly. Like I said, regardless of what you think of his out of the cage antics, in the cage, he's a very efficient fighter. Very, very efficient. And he's had, moments of weakness. I feel like that MVP fight wasn't the best, but he just gets better consistently. But anyways, I'm not delusional enough to think that Islam Makhachev is going to be nullified completely and he's going to be completely shut down. Islam Makhachev is going to get him down. There's no doubts about that for me. I'm kind of fully in agreement with everybody. Islam will inevitably get Ian Gary down because Islam and a lot of the Dagestani guys, they're relentless in a way most wrestlers aren't. A lot of people like to say you got to stop the wrestler a few times and they'll stop. Islam isn't like that. He will shoot as many times as he needs to get that takedown. And I think this is why, Islam should be the favorite because there is no argument that Islam is going to get Ian down. There really isn't. I think it just really comes down to how Ian reacts to that. You've probably heard a lot of people say it by now, but if Ian hasn't been focusing this camp on getting up off the ground, he's gonna lose. I agree with that for the most part. Obviously, defend the takedowns, do your best to not get taken down. Punish Islam on the way in, using your length and reach, maybe knees, obliques. I think that's gonna be the biggest weapon here for Ian Gary, oblique kicks. But if he just kind of lets himself allows himself to just be laid on top of it, try to hold out the round, he's gonna lose his fight. Because Islam will inevitably get him down. I do believe that. Gary needs to focus on getting up. If he is flat on his back, 12-6 the shit out of the crown of his head. I feel like we don't see enough fighters do that. I think that's very damaging. But if Ian Gary gets flat on his back, that's what he needs to do. Just do whatever he can to cut Islam, just do damage, but he's not going to win the fight off his ground. Islam is way too good. And in terms of strength, I think that's going to be huge for Islam. Islam looks fucking jacked, as we've seen. And yes, you could argue Shavkat might be stronger. Prates might be stronger. But Islam is clearly just a naturally strong guy, obviously. That's one thing a lot of people have mentioned about these guys is that they have a strength, a crazy grip strength. They just, once they grab you, it's really hard to get them off of you. But we've seen people succeed in that. such as Volkanovski. Now, I will say the fact that Volk is just like a shorter, stockier guy that kind of suits him well. He doesn't need that much space to get his legs back under him, whereas an Ian Gary is a lot longer. I think that'll kind of work against him. And I do think that the Khabib team is on his team. They're smart enough to leverage that against Ian Gary. A lot of people are posting the clip of Ian Gary defending Shavkat's takedowns, and that'll serve him very well. Like I said, Ian Gary is a very skilled fighter. He really is. But the big thing about that is those were like kind of belly to belly, chest to chest, clinch work, takedowns by Shavkat Rakhmonov. Every time Shavkat did get Ian down, it was when he grabbed the legs or the hips, uh, kind of utilizing his length. I think Islam, like I said, is smart enough to realize that. And he's not going to try to do any body to body, belly to belly judo tosses or anything like that because I do think Gary's length will serve him very well there, especially with knees in the clinch and things like that. Um, so like I said, I know it's an uphill battle. I know it is, but Ian absolutely has the tools to win the fight. Um, I know a lot of people think he needs to knock out Islam Makhachev. I actually necessarily don't think so. Um, I think it, like I said, if he fights the way he usually does, fight boring, point fight, quite frankly, poke and prod, stay on the outside, keep circling around, make Islam chase you around, slip in a head kick, teep kick, oblique, really spam the obliques here and there. Don't let your leg stick out for too long for Islam to grab because we know we've seen it in the Poirier fight. All Islam needs is a fucking foot to yank you down. Um, I think he definitely get a decision victory at some point. And honestly, I think he will. I think he will. Like I said, I know it's an uphill battle. I know it is. I know it is. But one thing about Gary, unlike a lot of Islam's other opponents, he's very confident. Um, Maybe the last guy that was confident he would beat him was Volkanovski in that first fight. I think if you look back on it, Volk didn't think he was going to beat him in that second fight. He was kind of saying that was a shot in the dark for Volk. Just that was a bit of blind confidence. Not Ian has been training for this fight for a long time. I think Prates said that. Ian has been training for Islam a lot longer than Islam has been training for Ian Gary. And Ian has a very good team. He really does. Now, I admit, I acknowledge the fact that there's a chance that Islam Makhachev might just bring out a whole new level. I mean, he mentioned it that he was playing it safe against JDM. And this fight, he wants to take a lot more risks and go for the finish more. And we might see that. But Ian Gary's a smart fighter. I think he's going to game plan correctly against Islam Makhachev. On the feet, I do think he has an advantage there, not only in the skill, but when you combine that with his size and length and reach, he could actually give Islam some problems there. I just worry about his ground game. Is he going to try to get up? Is he going to do some stupid shit like try to submit Islam from the bottom? Because that's not going to fucking happen. We saw how that went for Charles Oliveira, and I know Islam or I know Ian's team is it shoot boxing, but I know he trains with Charles and all of them. So I do worry greatly in that sense. I do worry greatly in that sense. But I truly do believe if Ian can consistently get up or nullify Islam's groundwork, avoid nasty grounded pound, um, and just kind of stay safe from submission attempts, I think Ian could actually pull it off. I really do. Now it's not going to be some crazy finish or dominant decision, but like there's a very high possibility he could win like 3-2, 29-28 just by point fighting, especially in those maybe later rounds or maybe I don't know. Um, he just needs to stay elusive, poke and prod Islam. And I think the oblique is going to be huge for him. Oblique and teep. Maybe not the teep. Islam could catch that. But I think the oblique is going to be massive for him. As well as if he gets flat on his back, 12-6 Islam in the fucking crown. Like seriously, I feel like we haven't seen enough fighters do that. Um, and I hope Ian Gary will be one to kind of bring that move to the limelight. We've seen a few fighters do that recently, and it was ridiculously efficient. Um, I, I think he needs to do that to Islam. I really, really do. Because again, there is no doubt that Islam Makhachev is going to take him down. It's just a matter of how Ian Gary will react to that. Is he going to accept it and resign to a bottom position, or is he going to fight like hell to get back up? I think he needs to fight like hell to get back up. I truly, truly do. Um, yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm very, very excited for this fight. I really, really am. Like I said, I think regardless of how it goes, this fight is going to age very, very well for Islam. There are rumors that if Islam wins, he's going to retire after this. I hope the fuck not, dude. If Islam beats Ian, and Michael Morales, although I think he easily beats Michael Morales. I don't really see the hype there other than Michael Morales being big. But two more defenses, including Ian Gary, Islam could sign off as the GOAT, most likely, surpassing Khabib officially, although I think he already has, and everything like that. If he stops here after Ian Gary, I'm sorry, but it'll feel like the Khabib loss. Like, it feels like he would leave so much on the table, and for what, right? For what? Islam doesn't have the excuse of, mother telling him to stop and everything like that. I want to see Islam keep going. I want to see him run through the 170 division if he gets past Ian Gary. Um, I just, I don't know. I think Ian Gary really could do it. I hope I explained myself well enough. But Ian obviously has the physical tools to do it, and on top of that, he's just a smart fighter. He fights intelligently. He fights safe. We call it boring, but he fights safe. That's going to be needed here against Islam Makhachev. Um, and we've seen him do a good job of nullifying dangerous opponents. He's done a great job of that. And Islam is a dangerous opponent. Um, there's a very good chance this fight is a boring one. Um, but even so, I think the Khabib team really do respect Ian Gary's skill, and obviously vice versa. They have to respect Islam's skill, the Gary team. I think it's gonna be a fun fight. I don't think it's gonna be a blowout one way or the other, but yeah, yeah, I don't know. I guess I don't really have too much to say about that. Um, I hope I explained myself well why I think Ian's gonna win. Just if he puts it together very well, perfectly, he can beat Islam Makhachev. If Dustin Poirier was able to push Islam Makhachev and push him hard, I think a smarter striker and a bigger striker in Ian Gary will be able to do something similar, if not better. Um, and again, a big thing working against Islam is he's been around for so long. We know the game plan that he wants to come out with. Um, we don't Islam or Ian doesn't really have to worry about the striking as much in the way like a Volkanovski or a Poirier would, just because he's a little bit bigger. And I'm kind of repeating myself, but combine that with his distance management skill, which he has a very good, feeling of range. If you combine that just with his length, he really does have the ability to beat an Islam Makhachev. Um, as for Islam, we know what he needs to do. Avoid, I think, the judo throws, avoid the clinch work. I think Ian might fuck him up in the clinch work low key. Um, we don't know how strong Islam's going to be. That's something I got to ramble on that I don't like about Ian Gary. I hate that he's a fucking vegan. If Ian Gary ate meat, carnivorous Ian Gary, that would be a mythical fighter. He would have that extra pop in his hands to put guys away. Like if Ian Gary was eating steaks, medium rare, and fucking ribs and ground beef and rice and shit, before the Protest fight, he would have knocked Protest out. Same thing with a lot of his opponents, but he probably won't realize that until a little bit later in his career. Like I said, Islam, him having to move up to 170 in terms of physique, that has really benefited him. I think, what was it? California State Athletic Commission, when Ian fought, I think Protest, he weighed 180. Uh, we know Makachev is probably around that, but all muscle, extra muscle added on. So combine that with Islam's natural reported strength. I don't imagine the strength will actually be an issue for Islam. What I mean by Islam is too small, I mean the frame. I think that's the biggest thing in MMA, more than like obviously weight matters, but frame is just fucking huge. If you're long and tall and you know how to use it, which Ian does, that just puts you above so many people. And yeah, I don't know. I just think Ian's very confident. He's been training for this fight specifically for a long time. He's been calling out Islam, I think, even before the JDM fight. And knowing Ian, he's probably been training for it before the JDM fight. Um, so I think he's very well prepared. Uh, it's just gonna matter of it's a matter of how Ian performs, honestly. Like, I don't wanna say it's Ian's fight to lose, that's a like, that doesn't give off the message I'm trying to say, but it's like Islam Makhachev is like a fucking Elden Ring boss fight or something. You know what he's gonna do, you know the move set. He's watched a ton of footage. It's just up to Ian to execute the perfect game plan, which he has successfully done against all his other opponents, maybe except Shavkat, but that was like a short notice fight, and he still showed his raw fighting IQ and skill was very good to keep up with a Shavkat. Um, I I think he could do very well here. Even if he loses, I think he'll show himself very well. He might bloody the face of Islam, even if Poirier could. Ian might be able to. Um, But Ian just needs to stay on the back foot, just fight boring, point fight, and he could pull it off. He could pull it off. Um, but Islam should be the favorite. Like I said, I fully acknowledge that he should be the favorite. I agree with that totally. I just think Ian might actually pull it off. I truly do. Um, so let me know what you guys think about that. I kind of went over that pretty quickly, a lot quicker than I thought I would. Um, is that a casual take? I don't think it's too casual of a take. Like I said, Ian has some real intangibles here that Islam can't account for. And it's the striking and everything like that. And with the way the year has gone with upsets and everything like that, it gives off the vibe that Ian might be able to do it. Although in the past, Islam has been pretty much immune to all of that. I feel like a lot of the Dagestanis are, maybe except Umar Marab. Um, but yeah, it's going to be a very good fight. I'm very, very excited for this fight. And I just rate Ian Gary so highly. He just performs so well in every fight, so intelligently. I think that's the most impressive part about it, so intelligently. So I think if he game planned correctly here, he has the tools to beat Islam Makhachev. He really, really does. Um, Especially when you look at the reach, the height difference. I mean, obviously, it's probably more within like a 2-inch height difference rather than it is fucking 5. Um, but we can't put too much into the Rocky Stairs face off. He was wearing fucking barefoot shoes or whatever, and Islam had the height boosters on. Um, Anyways, yeah, let me know what you guys think of that. Let me know what you guys think of that. Casual, not casual. Let me know. So let me go over my picks really quick on who I think is going to win on this main card. I got Rebavix. Barboza's kind of unk. I don't really trust his chin to hold up. Abdul Malik. Stoltzfus is here to lose to Abdul Malik. So unless Belguri really took his soul, we should have the victory here. I'm going to go with Jalen Turner. I think just when you really look at the physical differences in both of them, it's Turner's fight to lose. I don't rate a win over Harry Hardwick that high, especially the way it ended. I got Dern over Robertson. I think Dern's is better overall, but Robertson is scrappy. She might make it dirty, and if she could like disrupt Dern's flow early, Robertson could get the dub. But I got to go with Dern. And here, the main event, I'm gonna go with Ian Gary, dude. I think he could do it. He's a smart fighter. He's got the build for it, the confidence for it. He truly does believe he's gonna win. Poirier didn't think he was gonna win. Volk in the second one didn't think he was gonna win. Um, I think Gary can actually do it. I'm gonna be embarrassed, dude, if Gary gets tapped out in the first fucking round. That would suck. That would fucking suck. Um, but yeah, those are my picks. I'm actually gonna put $20 on Gary on Kalshi, because I really think he's gonna do it. I truly do. Um, and I'm ready. I'm ready to be wrong. I'm ready to be wrong. Okay. Uh, I've been wrong about a lot of fights. Obviously, I think all of us have. But this one is a pretty high profile one. A lot of people really hate Ian Gary. I think he's a good heel. I like that people hate him. Uh, I think it's funny. Honestly, I do. Something I got to say, though, that I didn't like in his media today, he started off by saying, pretty much, don't ask me about the cuck shit. Don't ask me about things like that. I didn't like that. That's a sign of weakness, in my opinion. Like, something I gave Ian Gary a lot of credit for is that he hasn't shown like that stuff bugs him at all. He's been pretty ignorant of it. Yes, he skipped out on that one press conference when the cuck allegations were at their peak, when the WAG book came out. And, I think that wasn't a terrible move, honestly. But I didn't like the fact that he kind of acknowledged, listen, I don't want to hear that shit. I know it's out there. It bugs me. I'm too locked in. I don't want that to disrupt my flow. Because he's going to be hearing a lot of that. I'm sure on his walkout, people are going to be yelling, cuck, and, you know, things like that. And if he can't handle those questions from reporters, will he be able to handle the bright lights of a main event? A highly viewed one, because Islam, he brings in a lot of views. And obviously Ian Gary with the antics he's been up to, the interviews and everything like that, a lot of people are going to be hate watching him. But if it weren't for that, I'd be a lot more confident in my pick. But honestly, I am a bit of a body language expert, and I like to read into things like that, the psychology of the fighters prior, and I don't think that looked good for Ian Gary. I really, really didn't. But yeah, those are my picks. Like I said, let me know what you guys think. I know the card isn't like the greatest name value wise, but like I said, if you kind of look at a lot of these fights on paper, I know the matchups are like layups, but they should be fun, striking battles that result in good finishes. I think so, at least up until the co-main event, realistically. Turner Fernandez might be a boring decision because Turner might bottle it, But I think Abdul Malik is going to get Stoltzfus out of there. Ribovics is going to get Barboza out of there, not after having some good exchanges in the middle. Should be a good fight. We got Joel Alvarez versus Chitty Bang Bang. We got Charles Johnson versus Eduardo Chapolin. Okay. I saw the meme. People were saying Bilal Hassan should have stepped in. I know Bilal Hassan said he wants to avoid fighting Charles Johnson, but I tweeted it out. I fully agree, man. Like, if Bilal Hassan wants to be champion, he needs to get knocked out by Charles Johnson. Any flyweight that's worth a damn gets knocked out by Charles Johnson. So the further Bilal Hassan pushes that down the line, the further he's pushing down his proper career aspirations. There's a reason Steve Erceg ended up being a flop. That's because he didn't get knocked out by Charles Johnson. That's the truth. Remember that shit. We got Trayshawn Gore. It's crazy this guy was on the main card. And I get it. It's kind of crazy fighting Luque too, man. He's going to kill Luque, I imagine. I know Brian Battle's a fat ass and he kept missing weight, but this will forever be Brian Battle's son, man. Brian Battle, the real ultimate fighter. Early prelims. We got Neil Magny, right? Neil Magny was on the main card too. We got Ortelby opening it up. Yeah, you know, it's a decent card, honestly. Like when you really kind of look at the matchups, it's just name value wise, we're kind of used to looking at these under the pay-per-view lens. Nobody's paying for this, assuming you have the subscription. You know, it's not that bad. It's not that bad, honestly, if you ask me. Although I do think I do think these two fights might ruin the momentum. Even if the Gary Makhachev fight is boring, the stakes of it is pretty impressive, or is enough to you know, get you into it more than some other fights. But yeah, these aren't too bad. These aren't too bad in terms of how the fight will actually play out. But name value, I agree, it's pretty shitty. It is not pretty on paper when you look at those names. But yeah, let me know what you guys think of my picks. Casual, not so casual. Something I do want to go over really quick. I got to look at Twitter because last time when I ended my live, it was announced Arman Sarukian was fighting Rufy. It was supposed to be Charles Oliveira, but as we know, Charles' teammate Alan Nascimento unfortunately passed away. Rest in peace. So it would make sense he wouldn't want to fight a contender like rematch Arman as such a serious fight while you're not in the proper mind state for that. When a major teammate of yours, you know, abruptly passes away like that. But props to Rufy for stepping up. I'm very excited to see that fight. I think Rufy's got to know something because it seems like a dumb decision considering Arman's wrestling pedigree. But Rufy must know something. He must have made some significant improvements, and we all know he has the athleticism to make those strides in such a short amount of time. So let me just make sure I'm not missing any breaking news. Okay, this is what I was looking. No, that's not the face off. Here, let me look at the bookmark. I think I bookmarked it. Their face off. Here it is. Look, we can see their shoes here. We can see their shoes a little bit. Look, you can see, dude. Those like have no. Yeah, those are like barefoot shoes. And even then, Islam's got the fucking Ultra Boost type boosters on the Air Maxes. That adds like a solid inch or two. And Gary is still like a solid inch or two higher. So you know, once they're both barefoot in the ring, I think like you see that big white strip, remove that from Islam's height here. Ian Gary will be a proper like 3 to 4 inches taller than Islam. Obviously, the heights aren't always correct, and a lot of fighters like to lie about their height. That could be what's going on here. But I think in terms of frame, though, like you could tell Gary's a bigger guy. But yeah, let's see. Again, let me make sure there's no breaking news or anything like that. I don't want to miss any crazy fight announcements or anything like that. Let me see. Yeah, we got nothing crazy. I don't know who Eduardo Chapolin is. I think he fought on Contender Series, I want to say, like a year ago. I don't know. But yeah, so I do got some announcements to go over in terms of the show, my streams. So I'm starting a new job, actually. I was a weekend warrior prior to this, so hence why Wednesday night really worked out well for me. But my hours are going to be changing a little bit due to my new job. So because of that, I am going to be moving my streams to every Friday at 7 p.m. I'm still deciding 7 or 8 p.m., but I'm thinking every Friday at 7 p.m. For sure on Friday. Like I said, unfortunately, I just won't be able to do Wednesday 7 p.m. anymore. So if you're one of the hardcores, one of the true fans that tune in every week, I'm sorry if you've gotten used to that, but I am gonna have to move till Friday. But on a good note of that, I'm gonna be uploading a lot of videos. I used to upload a lot more videos a few months ago, like a year ago actually, before I started doing these streams, but I upload videos few and far between. But I have a lot of different ideas going. Like I said, I'm gonna be tier ranking um every Dana White's Contender Series week. I'm gonna start, uploading actual videos throughout the week. That way, you guys have something to watch until Friday. And it kind of makes a little bit of sense because I like to talk on my picks and predictions uh, a little bit before the card. Um, and I, like I said, I really look into those press conferences and body language expert, whatever you want to call it. I love factoring those into my picks, and all the good stuff always happens on a Thursday and Friday morning. So like I said, this is gonna be the last time the Open Mat show is gonna be on Wednesday, 7 PM. Um, Next week, it'll be Friday, but I will be having an instant reaction video coming out Sunday. Luckily, with my new schedule, I'll be able to have instant reaction videos, just a lot more videos coming out. It's just a lot better of a schedule for me to work on things. So, stick around, guys. We're gonna have a lot coming out. A lot. I have a lot of videos in the bank actually ready to upload, like a UFC 6 series. I've never played that before. I've never been good at fighting games, and it definitely shows. Um, but yeah, I'll probably have that coming out Monday, maybe, or I might have my instant react. I want to have my instant reaction coming out Sunday. Um, maybe I'll have my UFC 6 series coming out Wednesdays, and then of course I'll have my picks, predictions, weekly reactions to the news and stuff on Friday, 7 p.m. for the stream. So yeah, again, thanks for tuning in, everybody. That's really all I got. Follow me over on Twitter/X at OpenMatShowLIVE. I live react to a lot of news over there. I live tweet during fights, everything like that. Um, I don't do a good job of uploading my videos over there though, which I should. Probably get me some good views. But let me know, what did you think of my picks? Are they casual? Are they not casual? Do you think Ian Gary really stands a chance? Or do you agree with me? Do you think Ian Gary is unfairly not given a proper shake here? I think a lot of people are really shitting on him. I get it. You don't have to like what he does outside of the cage, but he is a very skilled fighter. And the Khabib team even agrees with me. They understand how big of a threat Ian Gary can pose to a guy like Islam Makhachev when you consider his physical ability and his game planning. He's a smart guy. Uh, Let me know what you think of Dana White's Contender Series. What do you think of my tier list? I'm gonna have another one next weekend, probably Tuesday night immediately after Contender Series, maybe Wednesday morning, like around midnight. I don't know. But yeah, that's a new series I'll keep on doing. Uh, and yeah, just stay tuned, guys. I got a lot more things coming. I've been very, very busy. I'm actually working on a new set. I know this is just my fucking room, uh, but I got a prettier set coming up. A prettier corner of my room coming up. Um, so again, guys, thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate anybody watching. Anybody, I love yapping about combat sports. So anybody that's willing to take a second out of their time, even if you only stuck around for like 20 seconds, I really do appreciate it. It means a lot to me. And I don't care if I have 0 viewers, fucking 2, 3, 4, a million. I will keep doing this until I cannot because I just have a lot of fun watching these fights and talking about them. So yeah, again, like, subscribe, guys. It goes a very long way, very, very long way, because we're a very small channel. And subscribe. Who knows? You might win $100. Truly, I'm doing $100 giveaway once I hit 100 subs. So if you just need more background stuff, more MMA content to put in the background while you do stuff like me, just subscribe. And yeah, you never know, you might win $100 by the end of the year. Anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in. Love you all. Goodbye.